change your mind, if you change your mind.
Guys, you have no idea how I would have been really happy to put these Beach City episodes into a top 25 Beach City episodes list if I did make that video last year for Summerpalooza 4 Beach Paradise, because this episode, while being a season 5 episode, actually made it as one of the highest episodes. Mainly the fact that it actually had everything that made me appreciate this episode a lot more upon rewatch. This episode is a documentary of Sadie Killer and the suspects, and Steven has been recording the entire experience when it comes to the performance at Empire City. To be perfectly real with you, for how this episode is structured when it comes to Steven recording Katie Siddle and the suspects, which is Sadie, Miller, and the Cool Kids, I have to admit, it sums up a lot that they really wanted Sadie to have her very own episode by making her mostly the star of the episode when it comes to behind the scenes documentary, which for me personally, I'm mostly a sucker when it comes to documentary, when it comes to these types of documentary behind the scenes material. And since it includes development centered on Sadie doing it on her own without her mother, which is a follow-up to Sadie's song from season 2, I have to admit it really sums up a lot that Sadie wants to do this for herself, all the while having a different direction in her life. And believe me when I say this, is that every time I think about Sadie in this episode from beginning to end, with this being a documentary, I really feel like that she is a completely different person than she was when it comes to her episodes with Laws. But then again, those episodes were centering around Laws, and even though that in season 1 it did center around her walking with Steven at the Big Donut, at the very least, Laws was mostly the one that made Steven to walk with Sadie. Okay, granted, it's not the case, but it's just mainly of how Steven is always paired up with a character due to something going on. And to be real with you guys, for how this episode's second half really made this entire episode memorable on its own when it comes to Sadie's character along with the Cool Kids, this really feels like the final arc when it comes to the Cool Kids, for how they get along easily and the fact that they have a different direction on moving forward with their lives. And believe me when I say this, is that if we do see the return of Steven Universe when it comes to how everything has changed after the events of Future, then I'm pretty sure that we'll probably get one episode centering around Sadie and the Cool Kids. But then again, we don't know if there was a possibility if we're going to see them return if Steven Universe returns. It may be asking for too much if the setting after Future is a lot more different when it comes to newer characters, but as far as I'm concerned, it really feels like that these characters are mostly the highlights when it comes to their own episodes of Beach City. Granted, they're completely different in a different point of view wise if you enjoy the crystal gems and the yellow gems and whatnot, but believe me, the way I see it, they're not wasting my time when it comes to how they're developed. Believe me, this isn't really something I would complain about, because if I did, I would have skipped this episode. But since I really enjoyed this episode, and would have included it in my top Beach City episodes, then I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be able to miss out the opportunity, because the only thing I can think of reviewing this episode is for Halloween in the next 2 months. Because the song Ghost really made this a horror/Halloween episode, judging of how that it really establishes of how Sadie has changed when it comes to the Sadie song episode and the Sadie Killer episode. And just by seeing this song sequence without the documentary quality from Steven's camera, or mainly Greg's camera, it sums up a lot that it really wants this whole build-up to be really good on its own. It really shows that even without the crystal gems, they can still do a build-up with the Beach City citizens. This episode had the right pacing, writing, and the build-up to the song to make it worthwhile to stand out on its own. Believe me, even though that not every single Beach City episode needs to have this, mainly the fact that some were bad, you have to admit that for how properly executed this episode is, without the loose of gem characters, well, aside from Steven, really sums up a lot that I really appreciate the creativity from this episode and the song that Sadie sung with the Cool Kids, who are mostly doing the music. If anything, it made me appreciate of how they were developed and executed than what people think otherwise. But that's probably years ago where they watched the show for the first time with new episodes coming out, and when it comes to this episode, they would find it tolerable, but for me personally, after years, this episode has aged a lot more better since those 6 years. If anything, I'm pretty sure when people watch this episode for the first time when it comes to Sadie's character, they will probably appreciate her a lot more after the episodes of Sadie's Song and Sadie Killer. For someone who found quality in these Beach City episodes, with the only exception of a few bad ones, I have to admit, this really gave me a better point of view of the Beach City episodes, because at the end of the day, they're being their own thing, and even though that the gem episodes are important, that doesn't automatically mean that you should skip all the Beach City episodes. You shouldn't skip this one, because for me personally, it's one of the best, and would definitely put higher on my list when it came to Beach City episodes of top 10, 25, or something. With that being said, I'm giving this episode an 8 out of 10. There's only one more Beach City episode left, along with a couple more in future.